Hello and welcome back to the Reeve and Bloom Show. Good to have you along once again. We've been ploughing through these in recent weeks. I don't think we expected this series to go on as long as it has done, but we've said that we will continue throughout lockdown and throughout whatever happens. So welcome back. Ben, how are you? You're back to work, aren't you? What's it like working again?
I'm alive.
Okay.
I've done 4 days of work at a school. Jack, it feels like, and I'm not playing down the virus here, it feels like it was scarier thinking about going back to work and reading lots of people worrying about schools on Twitter than it was actually going back to work. So if I can give some kind of positive on people worrying about going back to work, all the children are in bubbles. I'm only in contact with 9 per day. I've done 4 days. I don't work Fridays, and everybody is clean and sprayed and washed hands and social distance, and everything is okay. I'm okay.
Is it like when you go to sort of a wildlife park and you've got the big, the big metal basins, and you've got to like pump your hand sanitizer out of it before you walk through?
There are parts of my job that are like dealing with people at a wildlife park. But no, look, the thing is, the kids in the end, all they need is, any parents listening will know, kids need a routine. They need to feel safe. So once you get onto the third day of, right, turn around, we're spraying you, and then it becomes fun. And then it's, right, coming from play straight to the sink, wash your hands, sit down, lift your food up. I'm going to wipe. Yes, I am cleaning under kids' tables for them. By the way, I would be a music teacher, but I'm quote redeployed in the crisis. So I am literally a dog's body at a school, but very happy to be there, and I do feel safe. So that's all good.
Well, that's I think you've hit the nail on the head there. That Twitter is basically just a scaremongering echo chamber. It's at the moment, it's very wise to limit your time on that platform, I think. And if you do go on there, make sure you're following the right people. Anyway, we're here to talk about football. We're here to talk about a bit of Norwich, a bit of Ipswich, and we've also thrown in a few curveballs today. We're going to be talking about Sunderland, Newcastle, and other bits and bobs. So the first thing that we'll discuss, Ben, it's been a busy few days, actually. I think, as we said in the last few episodes, things are starting to take shape now, and I think this has been a really formative week for the Premier League and the Championship, maybe not so much League One, but we'll get onto that in a little while. Premier League teams won't have to pay back Sky rebate money for a season. Quoted from The Athletic, it says, as the last meeting of the Premier League clubs, the top flight sides were informed they will lose a minimum of £330 million of broadcasters, even upon the completion of the season. That's then broken down into each club and how much they pay back. The Athletic said, as it stands, Liverpool would pay £21.5 million, but rock bottom Norwich City would return only 6.
Don't say say self-funded Norwich City, not rock bottom Norwich City.
I'm taking it verbatim.
Roy Keane's Ipswich, yeah.
So what does this mean for Premier League clubs? Because they're still going to have to pay the money back, just slightly delayed. Is that right?
Yeah, so hopefully, I mean, let's take it from a Norwich City point of view. So Norwich get the amazing promotion. They get up, they get the, we all hear the 100 million quid TV money. And then we had this sense of that Norwich were actually going to be rather unlucky because they were going to get up, they were going to be relegated. And the one great thing about getting up, they weren't going to get all of, were they? They were going to have to start paying this back. So I think in respect of your club, Jack, I think that's a good thing. I mean, look, Norwich have been so sensible for the last couple of years, haven't they? That they would likely, have this all in the budgets. But so Sky have gone first, haven't they? And that's 175 million of it. And as you said, not all animals are equal here. Liverpool will have to pay back way more than Norwich because they make way more. They're on the we understand the capitalist nature of this, but hopefully for a club like Norwich, it will mean, because that could have been really disastrous if they'd had to pay that back immediately. That could have really, these plans that are 2, 3, 5 years long, if you believe exactly, take Stuart Webber to the word there. That could have been a really bad thing. So my thought on it would be that it'd probably just be like you or I having a loan, that they'll organise what's got to go back, how it's got to go back. Remember, the good thing is they've only received this money I think is there 3 through the season or 2?
It's something like that, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't get all of it. Go ahead.
I think the main reason that they've done this is so that clubs can still spend as they would have done in the transfer window, right? And that will then have a ripple effect throughout the league. So League 2 clubs and League 1 clubs will hopefully see some money trickling down, which therefore will hopefully help them. And when I saw these figures, I was reading the article last night, and I saw that Norwich would have to pay £6.8 million. I thought it was going to be way more than that. I don't think that's going to be a massive. I mean, it's obviously a hit. Any club losing £7 million is not ideal, but it's almost money that they probably realised they never really had, and it's just, it's just numbers on a page, isn't it?
It's difficult because obviously you're right, but still the money man at Norwich would have budgeted to spend that £6.8 million on something, and now they don't have it, so it's a hole in a budget, isn't it? But no, I think we've said for ages about long term versus short term here, and what you said is totally right. Even though people won't like the transfer market were in a game, but you're dead right that getting that transfer market working has far more long term value than no one spend anything. That's going to kill clubs further on down the line. It won't kill Norwich or Liverpool or whoever, but I don't know, pick any lower division club that relies on selling one player for 800 grand every 2 years or whatever. There
will also be them clubs further down that will have them sell-on fees. The Coventries of the world who have still got a percentage.
Your new fullback as well.
Matson, there's going to be clubs relying on multi-million-pound sales for them to have some money trickle down.
Right,
so,
Jack, just quickly, did you see the real figure in that report, the doomsday scenario?
Yes.
If the Premier League curtails, 762 million needs to be paid back. That is basically the TV guys showing that they are puppeteering this whole industry, isn't it? So that we are screwed, all 4 divisions, if the Premier League does not finish and they really aggressively demand that money. I can't see why they would, because it would be killing the goose that lays the golden egg, wouldn't it? But
if you flip it and you were Mr. Sky Sports or Mr. Amazon, and you have paid for a product in which you haven't received, it's very much the same as us going, well, I want a refund for my season ticket. I've paid for a product that I haven't received. So I know it's on a much bigger scale, but I kind of see.
I can't argue with that, Jack. You're right. But when you hear, sorry to interrupt, when you hear people going, oh, why don't they just stop? Why do they have to continue? There you go. That's why, because they are over a barrel for 700 million quid, those 20 clubs. Yeah,
I think I was one of them people maybe a month or 6 weeks ago. I was saying, well, I don't think it's going to be safe. I don't see the value in continuing the season. Let's just restart it when it's safe, or let's just null and void. And I think over the weeks I've become gradually more okay with it continuing. Yes, Norwich will probably go down, although it's basically like starting a season from scratch. Everything's different. So we'll see. I'm actually quite excited, and let's talk about the fixture list. That I think it's still provisional, but I can't see it changing too much from what we've seen. If you haven't already seen it, I think it's all over Twitter. I saw Max Rushton tweet it out. It's on The Athletic as well. It's basically, I don't know what you think, it's basically going to be like a World Cup, but for the Premier League. I'm really excited.
You know what it reminded me of, Jack? When you're in the pub and the pub does Sky Sports and you go into the toilets for a pee and they've got that poster up of all the games that are on in the pub, and it's just literally game after game after game after game on TV. It reminded me of that. To your point,
talking about that, my local pub back in Yarmouth, I'm sure people know of it. It's called The Avenue. It's a really nice pub actually, but some of the things are slightly outdated, and they've still got one of them Premier League fixture lists, but they've got like Daniel Sturridge in a Chelsea shirt. They've got it was like from the 2011 season.
Is it slightly discoloured?
Yeah, massively discoloured. It's like, this isn't inviting people in, people. Like, let's update it a little bit. Yeah, that's my my little Yarmouth story for the day.
I think you're right though. I think that's what we'll see, and honestly, I think that's what will happen now, unless in wider society there's some disaster with the R number. But And I go to what you said, Jack, and I'll stand up for you. I think it's perfectly reasonable for someone 6 weeks ago, with the evidence they had 6 weeks ago, to have held the position that you held. And I hope that more people, because you get this thing on Twitter of, right, I once said this thing, so I'm now going to stubbornly until the end of time not go back on what I said. Of course, it's fine to change your mind. That shows strength of mind and strength of thought to absorb new information as it comes all the time. I was the same. I've needed to be convinced that it would be safe, and now I've got 6 rounds of Premier League testing numbers where it's been, 0.1%, 0.2%, 0.1%, and it looks safe. And now there's 5,000 people queuing up outside IKEA, and there's staff expected to work in there for much less money on much less testing. I know I've hammered this socialist thing each time, Jack, but I don't see players now able to argue that they're being asked to do anything that workers in wider society, you're back to work now, I'm back to work, aren't being asked to do. So
it is that evidence thing, isn't it? And I think it was a line you said a few episodes ago. We were talking about the games leading up to the Bundesliga, and I still wasn't massively convinced. And you were like, well, it's probably one of the safest industries. They've all been tested. They're being tested regularly. And then they're in a very closed environment. And it feels safe. Hopefully, look, the atmosphere will be damaged. It's not the football that we're used to, but it's still football. And I've enjoyed some of the Bundesliga action, even though I've got no, affinity to any of the clubs really. So if I'm able to watch Norwich City on BBC, on Amazon, on free to view telly, that's great. And there's football all the while. That's brilliant.
And Jack, as soon as you have that emotional investment, that tribal feeling, that I forget the word you used that began with I. You were I can't remember what the word was, but the feeling of when you're watching. As soon as you know who invested is what you said. As soon as you know who those players are and have that, you'll feel very, very differently about the. I watched Bundesliga game and I knew who Thomas Muller was. I knew who Jadon Sancho and Erling Haaland was, and Mats Hummels, and basically anyone who's played in the World Cup. I knew who they were. But otherwise, whereas the likes of you and I will be able to tell you all of the first teams, all of the substitutes, the formations, the managers, the previous clubs of the players. We'll know their characters. We'll know their signature manoeuvres. You obviously you're going to be so much more invested.
The really interesting thing for Norwich fans at the moment, I think, look, a lot of Norwich fans still aren't convinced about the whole return to football behind closed doors. The one thing that feels universal across the board is they don't want the FA Cup to come back. Now, for me, I hold a really different opinion here. I would love to see Norwich City go all the way and win it. I don't care that we wouldn't be there to see it. It's still on the history books. The cup would still be on our trophy cabinet. Ipswich fans, more than any, know that Norwich City haven't won too many trophies, and you continually remind us of it. So it'd be lovely to win an FA Cup. And I don't get the argument that they would prefer to see us lose just because they're not there. I don't get that argument.
Baffling. Yeah. It would be the greatest day in Norwich's history, wouldn't it, if they won the FA Cup?
Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly.
It'd be the biggest thing that they'd ever won, and it's always that thing of, and we try and persuade children of that, don't we? That something good happens to somebody else. Is that bad for me? And it does strike me as a rather selfish thing of you get your biggest ever trophy win. I mean, and then you can have the Wigan debate as well, can't you? Would you take an FA Cup with relegation and possible financial implications? But come on, it's about the glory. It's about the trophies. And what, three games away? The only issue is you can't, if you're a team like Norwich, i.e. a lower level Premier League team, you're hoping that there's still. Remember when Millwall got to the final and they just managed on all the draws to get the right draw to and had to just beat Sunderland in the semi-finals to get there. God, can you imagine Mick McCarthy had got to the FA Cup final? So we never would have heard the end of it, would we? But no, if any Norwich fan thinks that winning the FA Cup would be a bad thing, they're insane. It would be the and like you say, in terms of that big club, little club, it's validation, isn't it?
Yeah, massively. No, it's crazy. I was interested. You said about IKEA a moment ago and people queuing up. So
We need to go, Jack.
well,
I'm not
so
going.
I live in a little village called Warlingham, and our closest kind of big town is Croydon, and there's an IKEA in Croydon. And we're in like a little village Facebook page thing, and everybody was like, "Who's going to IKEA today? It's reopening." And it was the same with McDonald's. Who's going to McDonald's today? And we spoke the other week about, will football fans turn up to stadiums? And I think you were like, "Well, I'm kind of a bit offended that people think we're that dumb." Yes, we are that dumb because people are going out. Don't be offended. We are thick.
I got no comeback to that. Yeah, I just think what it proves, Jack, is if you take something away from humans that they're used to and they love for a period of time, they will long for it in a strangely disproportionate manner. I mean, look, I spilt some stuff on a placemat ages ago, and I've needed to go to IKEA to change the placemat, and I'm sure I'd get some light bulbs and buy, another plant that I don't need. But it's balmy, isn't it? I suppose at least with the McDonald's thing, you're in your car and you're socially distanced. But then, did you see in the wonderful town of Ipswich a few weeks ago, they opened Costa Coffee, and it literally shut the town down. They had to close it within an hour because so many people wanted to. And I get it, people want to go back to normality. But to your point on, does that debunk my argument? Possibly it does, doesn't it?
Well, like you say there about McDonald's. We're going on a tangent. I apologise. We'll bring it back in a moment.
Oh, people like this stuff, Jack.
You said about it's kind of harmless going to McDonald's. You didn't read the Great Yarmouth Mercury yesterday because
I did not read the Great Yarmouth Mercury.
They reopened the McDonald's on Gapton Hall. Now, have you ever been up there, the industrial park in Gapton?
I've not been to Yarmouth since I was about 11. I would have thought.
Probably a good choice.
My auntie took.
Anyway, I won't bore you with how they've set up the road system around there, but there's basically a major roundabout that leads into Gapton Hall. So they reopened the McDonald's drive-through. Everyone's piling into McDonald's. It's looped back round into the major roundabout, and they've had to get the police out to divert people away from the roundabout. So it's taking police resource away here, Ben. This is not
Which was a big complaint about football, wasn't it? Oh, that'll suck the resources away. Well, there you go. Then you put that in your McDonald's burger and smoke it, yeah?
Yeah. Although, to be fair, I would probably be willing to risk safety for a McFlurry. They are very good. Let's get on to something slightly less enjoyable. I could not believe this story when I saw it, and I had to reread it. Sunderland. I'm just going to say Sunderland, and you can relay what's happening there at the moment.
Right. So, as I understand, Sunderland have not stopped and stop me if I'm wrong about any of this, not stopped their direct debits for season tickets. And obviously now, if you're a Sunderland season ticket holder, you would have paid up. And just quickly, Jack, I'm sure you and I both have massive sympathy for Sunderland fans. Yeah.
Yeah, massively.
We're not having a mock here. We understand their pain. And I was at Wembley to see them lose to Charlton in the playoff final last year. So their direct debits have now been taken for next season's season ticket, and they've been told if there are no games, you will get the iFollow feed, which in League One at Rotherham is not at Rotherham. That's a decent view. At Rochdale is one camera, no replays. I've seen Ash from Ipswich Fan Zone get better footage from his holding up his iPhone than you see on iFollow. When
we were in the Championship and we were having to pay for iFollow, it's like a £5. It's 2 minutes delayed. There was no commentary, so you
get the local radio commentary, but there may be a lag sometimes.
Okay, well, in that case, it's fully worth the money.
Oh, is that Chris Gorham?
It'd be. What we used to have to do was pay your £5, get a terrible service, and then kind of turn your radio up so it kind of syncs. But then Chris Gorham would announce the goal, and then you'd see the goal like a minute later on the iFollow feed.
just if anyone is going to accuse me again of being a Norwich fan, I met Chris Gorham and did a podcast with him. So that's the only reason. I don't sit and listen to Chris Gorham every Saturday, and he was very gracious and very lovely. I'm sure you've met him, Jack, as well.
Yeah.
And a very good commentator, apparently. He's been doing it for
very good.
Same as Brenner Woolley's been doing it for about 100 years for Ipswich. So you get the iFollow footage only for the home games, Jack. They're not going to give you the away games. So effectively, I mean, I don't know what a Sunderland season ticket, but I think my direct debit for an Ipswich season ticket is like 40 quid a month or something like that. So it's a pretty penny, and obviously everything comes back to the Netflix link of $5.99 or whatever it is. So effectively, the Sunderland fans would be paying 40, 50. You know, if they got plush seats on the halfway line, probably more to get an iFollow subscription, which costs £5 or something, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's the money. It is a lot. I think I applied for my refund a few weeks ago, and I think I'm entitled for about 130 quid, which is a fair amount of money, especially in this climate. For me, the Sunderland thing is less about the money. It's more just don't treat your fans like that. It's appalling.
Am I right, Jack, that they didn't get asked? That it just rolled over? Because to be fair to Marcus Evans, we got a letter, and I know I went on here and moaned about the fact that it said "Dear Supporter" and didn't have my name there. Which
at least it didn't say "Dear Customer."
Oh, yeah, right. There you go. But my name was on the envelope, like 2 inches above. It's like, you know, show me some respect. But there you go. At least he sent a letter saying, right, if you want to keep paying, it might well end up being a donation, you know, etc. And I think, have Norwich done something where you can... there was a commenter called Dan, I think, said that he's happy for his to go to the academy or a local good.
So we had three options. Yeah, 3 options. You can either get a straight up refund, so they'd pay the amount you owed back into your bank account. You could donate the amount to the academy, and all the money will go there, or you could donate your money to the Community Sports Foundation, which is our really wonderful charity. So 3 very fair options. And I think a lot of people donated their money to the academy or to the charities, especially if they were like away memberships where you're entitled to like £6.21 back or something. It's not worth the faff of getting that straight refund. So I think Norwich will probably keep a fair chunk of it, but very much people are entitled to their cash back as well.
Norwich is interesting as well, Jack, because am I right? 75% of the stadium is season tickets. It's a vast number, isn't it?
I think I think it's about 22,000 season ticket holders in a 26,000 kind of home capacity, and there's a long waiting list as well, so they could up that if they wanted to. So, a vast amount of money coming through season tickets at Norwich. So, a massive financial stream.
Just quickly, Jack, this is the same club that the owner was willing to have Netflix cameras film him gamble on Will Grigg on a transfer deadline day, so he might look like a hero if Will Grigg scored 10 goals and got them promoted. He's now gone, yeah?
Yeah, I had this written down here, the Sunderland Till I Die documentary. I mean, I watched it. I know you watched it. I watched your really good interview with the chap who appeared in it.
Yeah.
And the one who was, throwing some fairly punchy questions at the owners.
He went into thug life mode, didn't he?
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed that whole series. I thought it felt kind of mockumentary at times, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good look behind the scenes, but now it just looks like it was a massive PR stunt, doesn't it?
Well, and putting my Ipswich hat on, we saw the previous season and we saw so much foreshadowing of what then happened at if you're in the Championship and you change your manager and you lose the dressing room and your goalkeeper starts making individual mistakes. So us Ipswich fans we're watching it going, oh my God.
Yeah.
this is happening, and we're kind of seeing inside. But good documentary, and Norwich fans be grateful for Stuart Webber, basically.
Yeah, and the thing is, though, the thing that really frustrates me here, and I think fans have to take some responsibility as well. A line that I was watching your interview a few weeks ago as I was putting up my DIY radiator cover with Kieran Maguire, the football finance expert, and he said football clubs are in a very different situation to your ordinary business, because there's that community factor which so often saves football clubs from financial turmoil. We rarely see football clubs go under completely because they're often saved by fans, they're propped up by fans. Sunderland's ownership and Newcastle's ownership, that we'll get onto in a moment, know that they can get away with this and it will be fine, because one, football fans are incredibly fickle and have short memories. All it takes for them is to win a pre-season game 3-0 and they'll all forget what happened. It's true,
True. So true.
And they know that they are so invested in their football club. They will throw money at it even if they haven't got it. They will do anything to support their club. And I think fans are taken for granted, but it's almost we have to take responsibility as well. If we don't want this happening to us anymore, don't buy your ticket. And I know that's tough. Just don't buy things, and then football clubs will start to see that they need to treat fans better. It's like we had it when Jez Moxey was here. He was trying to charge 30 quid for an FA Cup replay ticket. Fans just didn't go. And then Delia and everyone came out and said, yeah, look, we held our hands up, we got it wrong. Here's some money off your next ticket. So it's a massive frustration to me that fans are taken for granted, but we kind of have to step up and go, look, we're not taking this anymore.
We're right on the edge of it being too much for a lot of it. When you get Manchester City fans who can't afford to go to Wembley for the 4th time that season because they've already dropped 200 quid on the Charity Shield and then the League Cup final, and they didn't go to the FA Cup final, did they? Because it's like, I've got no money left, guys. I wanted to go to Real Madrid 3 weeks ago, and it's like, can you imagine the cost to follow Manchester City or Liverpool to every game? Yeah,
for us, going to Wembley is a massive novelty, and it's great. If you're going, it's a great stadium. If you're going 4 times within 6 weeks, I'd probably be like, I'll just watch it on the telly.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and can you imagine if Ipswich got to Wembley, even in the EFL Trophy, one of like 8 clubs or something who've never played at the new Wembley? It'd be amazing, even if it was EFL Trophy against Exeter, and you'd have this hilarious thing of 40,000 Ipswich in one end, 3,000 Exeter in the other, and then Exeter would win or something. Just this silence at one end of the stadium. But no, it would be absolutely incredible. But yeah, it's right on the edge. But those Northeast guys, Jack, they're crazy loyal. The amount of support and the level of support that I once heard on a wrestling podcast a really funny quote. It was about wrestling fans that moan. They say, and this is terrible and that's terrible, and then next week, where are they? They're sat on their TV there next week. So we get a lot of people, this is not right, must change. Where are they next week?
Yeah,
in their seat.
There is very much I think that's probably goes across a lot of society at the moment, that output. But it's what makes them Northeast clubs so great, but it's also what makes their fans vulnerable in a sense. They can be taken advantage of, which is a real shame. We mentioned there Ipswich going to Wembley. I think that's a fantastic link. Your owners, whoever wants it, wants an extended playoffs in League One. Am I right in saying that?
Semi-right. So what's happened, and this just feels like the most Ipswich thing in the whole world, is the initial EFL breakdown in League One was due to people not agreeing. So they went back to the clubs and asked for, quote, innovative and creative proposals. And of course, everyone mocked and said, 5-minute sin bin, take a player out every 5 minutes, and if you end with 3v3 or something, next goal wins. So we got a lot of humorous mocking. Although
that first sentence, innovative and creative.
Jack, I think I'm exactly right with that quote, innovative and creative, and that was from the EFL as well.
They're asking for this.
Can I just say, no one's going to beat your line about football fans getting carried away about friendlies. That's absolutely hilarious. We've all been to a pre-season friendly where someone comes out going, do you know, I think we can do it this year. I think we can. We just won 1-0 at Barnet, and Miles Kenlock just, I think he's worth 10 million now. So I love football fans for that. But right, so the proposals were asked for and then seemingly ignored, and then they asked for another load of proposals. I think basically because Mark Palios was making too much noise at Tranmere, and obviously Mark Palios is, compared to League One owners, he was the former chief exec of the FA. He's probably still got more lobbying power than Andy Holt, for example, or Dara the Explorer at Peterborough, whatever. So we're basically at the point now where by June the 9th, it was going to be June the 8th, they've again asked for more proposals. And Mark Palios and Tranmere have come up with this system that includes margin for error. So they've basically taken the last 3 seasons and said, so for example, in the Championship last year, Leeds would have been promoted on points per game, but they would say there was margin for error because in the end, Sheffield United overtook them, and they've gone and worked out all the points. I don't know why they've only done it for 3 seasons. I'm sure someone calculated all the seasons to find out exactly the right amount that would keep Tranmere in the division, but there you go. So they've done it for 3 seasons, and you apply the margin for error on teams in either playoff positions or promotion and relegation positions. So if you apply margin of error to Bolton and Southend, Jack, doesn't make any difference. They're too far behind.
Yeah.
They still get relegated. So you could say that even in a massive outlier season, and this is the point people always argue, AFC Wimbledon were in the bottom 3 last year and they survived, MK were in the bottom 3 last year and they survived, etc. So what this serves to do is save Tranmere, but also put Rotherham at risk, which would then engage the entire 8 owners below Rotherham to say, well, if we pass that, there's one automatic place up for grabs. And obviously, for people like Dara McAntony and, whoever, Oxford, Pompey, Sunderland, they're going to go for it, aren't they? So what seems to have happened is that Marcus Evans, and it genuinely feels like, can we do a proposal? I suppose we should do a proposal. Do you want to do one? I don't know. Really? Do you want to write it? Or I can't be asked. We're going to look silly. You write it, Marcus. Go on. Oh, okay. Right. Where are we in the league? 10th. We're 10th. I thought I gave Paul Lambert a new contract. We're not supposed to be. We're 10th. Are we? Oh, okay. Right. So, can I get one of my maths pods from Marcus Evans' group, please, to sort this out? Yeah. Right. Make me an idea that puts Ipswich in the playoffs. Well, they're not going to go for that, Marcus. Well, I know, of course, they're not going to go for it, but I may as well do something anyway. that to me is the conversation that they had. They know they're not going to go for it, but they just throw in a proposal in. So look, is it as serious as Mark Palios' Tranmere one? No. Are they going to go for it? No. Is it a little bit pathetic? Of course it is. It's massively pathetic, but I think they're just putting in a proposal for the sake of putting in a proposal. But
well, I admire the speculative nature of it. I thought you were going to say for a moment that you somehow figured out through margin of error that Ipswich could have crept in the playoffs. I was like, that is a lot of margin for error.
The stupid thing with all of this is, if the pandemic had hit about 6 weeks earlier, we were top of the league. It's so Ipswich, isn't it, that you can't even time a pandemic right?
You should try, if you go back far enough and not appoint Paul Lambert, like all Norwich fans knew that you shouldn't have done, and maybe appointed someone else who was suited for the job. That's your argument. Say, well, our margin for error is we appointed the wrong man.
But it's very silly. But I've now got a new line on this, Jack. This goes into Trump, that it's not the best idea that gets voted for in votes. It's the idea that's most attractive to the most people.
That's very true.
It is though, isn't it? Therefore, if Tranmere can pick out a system where Mark Palios can go to AFC Wimbledon and go, well, if you vote for this, you still stay up, and so do we. And he can go to Dara and go, oh, Dara, if you vote for this one, give a little go. You could still get Wickham, fine. Yeah, you can make top 2. You said on the radio, Gareth Ainsworth, that you could get top 2. So, but look, through the whole thing, I bet you the EFL just go with their initial.
So So what is going on then? Because we talk about League One on each and every one of these episodes, and I always say, what's going on? And you say, well, in a couple, maybe this evening there'll be a conclusion. Ben, we're 6 weeks on, nothing's happened.
I know. I don't blame Rick Parry for that, honestly. I blame the clubs not being able to agree, and I blame the disparate nature of League One, where you have Sunderland and AFC Wimbledon, Ipswich and Rochdale in the same division, and they've got totally different outlooks, and that's fine, and that is what it is. Right, where we are now is the deadline for the proposals was on Tuesday. So Marcus probably started writing his at about 4:50, I reckon, on Tuesday. Can you get this email out by 5? So then the meeting was going to be on the 8th. What date are we now, Jack? Are we on the 4th? It would be Monday, would it?
5th today.
Yeah, so the 8th would be Monday.
Yeah.
They've bumped that to Tuesday, but I have been told it's a multiple decision that's going to be made on this meeting. And like you, I don't care whether that means they've only got 2 hours to vote for what they're going to do after they go through. So the idea is the EFL are going to vet the proposals. So whether they allow Mark Palios in or Marcus Evans in, or they just say, well, we've listened to them all and we're still just going to go with either curtail or curtail with points per game and relegations, etc., or restart the season for everybody. Restart the season for everybody is not going to happen. It's just absolutely not going to happen. Or whether they can sneak in Mark Palios's or Marcus Evans thing and still vote for it. So what I'm hoping is on Tuesday, it's got to be black and white at this point, Jack. Yeah. It's got to be right. Here's what you're voting for to change the regulations. Do you want to vote to change the regulations? Go. And then the second vote would be, in the event of a curtailment, this is what you're going to do, etc. But yeah, it's crazy, rumbled and rumbled now. But at least we can have a laugh about how stupid it all is now.
We had a great tweet from Ivan Adcock on Twitter last night. And he said, if League One clubs decide on an 8-team playoffs, can you see a 20-team mini competition in the Premier League to decide who wins the league?
But
I enjoyed that.
If one is as stupid as the other, then yeah, it's getting ridiculous, and it does feel like with League One clubs, it's the lunatics running the asylum, isn't it? And you want the leadership to just go, look, you spent 3 million on Will Grigg. You don't deserve an opinion. Do you know what I mean? What? You hired Paul Lambert and he took you from 1st to 10th in 6 weeks. No, you forfeited your opinion. Go away. This is what we're going to do. And bloody well do it, So
very much. We'll get onto some Twitter questions in a moment. I don't know about you, Ben, but we're very civil on here. My hatred for Ipswich probably isn't as great as a lot of Norwich fans, but sometimes on Twitter I just feel a bit petty, and I kind of want to rumble some Ipswich fans. So this morning,
you're part of the problem, Jack, aren't you?
I'm very much part of the problem. Yeah, I'm not stuck in traffic. I am the traffic. I was tweeted the Pinken article where it said Norwich City's new management structure won't work, says Ipswich Town chief Ian Milne, and I just thought I'd tweet it out.
How old is that article?
3 years old. I know. I just sometimes feel like I don't know.
It's naughty. I don't have much leverage over Norwich fans. The only thing that seems to wind them up is when I tell them the realities of how rich they are compared to most other Championship clubs. They don't seem to like that. They're
parachute payments as well.
Yeah, they're happy for me to tell them how brilliant they were in 2018-19, but they also want me to tell them that they did it without spending any money whatsoever. But no, I don't have any. We have a fun little joke in our fabled WhatsApp group where rattled and living rent free. That comes up a lot. We rattled the Blue Monday guys. We're living rent free in their heads, and I often get called a fraud, and sometimes I get called a nonce, which I think it's rather unfair for my football. But yeah, so sometimes a WhatsApp quote will go, "Oh, you fraud, nonce, rent free, rattle."
For some reason, it's funnier you saying them things than a standard person. Yeah.
Thanks, Jack.
Okay, we had some Twitter questions. The first was from Joe Fairs. He said,
who is a member of the Blue Monday WhatsApp group.
Okay, well, hello, Joe. Which is more desperate? Ipswich Town trying to get an expanded playoffs, or Norwich City pushing for no relegation from the Premier League? Right, I'll defend. You've kind of defended your point. Well, not very well, because you admitted it was embarrassing.
I'll go for the Ipswich one. I'm going to call the Ipswich one pathetic. Okay.
I would say then that this could be showing more desperation from your end, because what Stuart Webber's argument was, you can't relegate teams if the season wasn't finished. However, he was very much of the opinion that the season should be finished. So he wasn't pushing for us not to go down. He wanted the season to finish, as it probably will do, unless there's a crazy second spike with the pandemic. But he was basically saying that there shouldn't be relegations or promotions should the season not finish, which I kind of get, to be honest.
He also said that at a time before Germany had started, didn't he? He said that at a time with much. I don't think he'd say that now, because I think he'd be much more short. Look, it's going to happen. And then the FA came out the following week, did they, and said, well, no, relegations are going to happen. But I take Joe's point, and he's a very, very knowledgeable chap, actually.
Joe, you are very much the one supporting the desperate football club, not us. Daniel,
at least we're able to laugh about it, Jack. It's just so ridiculous, isn't it? I keep saying Ipswich being promoted this season is like when Joey Essex gets a doctorate from the Essex of University for, do they just give no, when they just give out PhDs to undeserving famous people. Yeah, that would be Ipswich's promotion this year, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Daniel Emery asks top 3 underrated derby goals from both sides. I think the one that always pops into my mind is probably forgotten because of the scoreline, was Jimmy Bullard's.
Oh God, yeah,
that was an unbelievable strike.
Yeah, I've said about that game. I was on a tour in Northern Ireland, so I had a ticket, and I wasn't on a tour. I was on a tour of the UK, but I was in Northern Ireland at that point, and my phone kept going with score updates, and it wasn't nice. But yeah, it's an amazing goal as well. And another one that I think gets forgotten was the first Alex Maffey goal in the 5-0. There's a throw in from the wing, and he spins and volleys it in the top corner from outside the box. Everyone forgets it because it was after about 15 seconds, and then of course there was another 4 goals in the game, and he got the hat trick. But it's an absolutely brilliant goal. Obviously the Bradley Johnson Thunder Bastard one, where he nearly takes the net off the back of the goal, was but I don't know whether that's underrated. I think people acknowledge that's brilliant.
I think I was directly behind. That was when I used to sit in the river end, and I was directly behind it. I've never seen
like that.
I've never seen a ball struck that hard. It was vicious.
I'm gonna gazump you on that. I've seen a ball struck harder than that since by Fernando Forestieri. You must have been at that game.
Yeah, I was. I don't think it. I suppose it was further out, wasn't it? Yeah, I was struck horribly hard.
I always ask you this what's the stand called that I would have been sat in that game?
You were at the Gerald, weren't you?
Gerald, and I was kind of in line with him as well. And I swear that season, of all the games I saw, no one hit a shot harder than that one. And because Norwich were nice and high up in the league, a few people around me, of course I went, wow, what a goal, like that, and started clapping. But a few Norwich fans did applaud that goal. But you basically promoted by that point.
I applauded that goal. That was a really nice. There was some really good opposition goals at Norwich that season. I can remember Steve Morrison scoring from the halfway line for Millwall. That was outrageous as
good
well.
Player. He'll be a good manager. You mark my words on that.
Steve Morrison?
Yeah, he'll be a very good manager.
Really?
Yeah, very clever. I saw a lot of Millwall in 17, 18. And when you can see someone is completely
no one ever
brains. said this championship nerd. No, but when you see when someone's the brains on the pitch. Yeah, clever player, Steve Morrison.
I think in terms of underrated strikers, he was certainly an underrated striker for us. I think he scored in 7
so slow.
No, he couldn't. But I think he scored in 6 or 7 consecutive Premier League games for us.
In the Premier League.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he was. I think we lost them all, but he scored them.
Just to take the time to mention Marcus Stewart did that for Ipswich in the season.
And Marcus Stewart.
And I think, Jack, either all of them or all but one were the opening goal in the game as well. So it got to the point where the bookies were like, I always remember Kevin Phillips coming to Ipswich for Sunderland, and he was like 6-5 on to score the first goal because he's just such a machine at that point. And yeah, he scored. In fact, I remember in that game I did the brilliant football supporter thing of after about 20 minutes going, "Oh, we're playing Phillips quite well at the moment. He's been quite goal."
It must have been odds that short for when Luis Suarez rocked up to Carrow Road, I think. Hat-trick evens.
Well, they would have taken a lot of money on hat-tricks, wouldn't they?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's the goal that pops into my mind in terms of being underrated. There hasn't been any stunners in recent years, has there? I don't think.
All the games have been... I mean, you played really well in the 3-0, the last one.
Yeah.
But all the goals were a bit... I mean, there was one nice... Buendia for Pookie. The last two goals were quite similar, weren't they?
Yeah.
But
it's the Grant Hanley cross for Tim Close's header was incredibly underrated. A centre back to
mess though, wasn't it? Absolutely. If you take into account the massive mistake by Bielkowski running out and just foul him for God's sake, stop the game. Yellow card, Bart, silly boy.
Definitely. Okay, one more question. This comes in from Richard Secker, and I suppose it applies to everyone, not just Norwich. He says, Carrow Road is a very hard place to come when it's packed. Most of our points have come from home games. Does this mean we'll lose an advantage now having to play games behind closed doors? Is there something in that, do you think?
Possibly, but Carrow Road is also the hardest place to get to for every Premier League team, and they may this is not a joke, Jack. This is not a joke. They may have to travel on the same day in long journeys on coaches. So what you get taken away with Carrow Road, you actually get given back, I think, with the other hand. Look, we're all. Let's be honest. You're a well-read football fan. I think I am too. We're all guessing on this. We don't know. It's unprecedented. We don't know. I still stand by the fact that one team will tank and lose all of their games. That they just won't be able to deal with all of the changes.
Well, there's been a case of that in the Bundesliga, hasn't there? Is it Schalke or someone like?
I don't. Well, that would be David Wagner's team, wouldn't it? Schalke.
Or maybe I'm sure I've seen someone on an awful run.
Guy. Yeah. I think someone will just go on a tear. And I suppose you'd hope that would be Norwich. One thing we've said on the previous shows is that Norwich is so strong on pattern of play and rehearsed moves that does it matter? We've said about players before. They praise the crowd when they win and say it benefits them, but then they say, "Oh, it doesn't affect me when it's negative." So we never get the truth from players about the actual influence on the crowd. But who knows? Who knows?
The one thing I did laugh when I saw the kind of proposed rulings and how things will be changing is that you can kind of organise one or two pre-season friendlies, but it has to be within 90 minutes. You can't get to anywhere in 90 minutes. We'll be playing like this or someone.
That's your punishment for the advantage you're going to get from these poor Liverpool players with deep vein thrombosis I think they've already been. But who have you got? But like Manchester United in the Cup quarter-final.
Yeah.
If that game is played at, I mean, I'm sure Man United will be able to sort some kind of hotel, but they're saying, it's going to be 2 buses and long drawn out journeys. But if I'm Norwich, I'm wanting that game played at midday.
Yeah.
So and Man United to travel down on the same day on a bus. Look, I know it's a luxury bus, but still, they would have been down a day before. They would have had a lovely sleep. They would have had a walk around in the morning. But the Bundesliga has had they've had a upturn in the metrics for away points, haven't they? I think the away points have gone have gone up. So the commenter might be correct. The long-winded, waffly answer is we don't know.
No, I am actually looking forward to having just a constant stream of football on the telly though. And I saw you mention the other day about Amazon's power in terms of financial. Amazon are by far probably the most cash-rich company on the planet at the moment, and I thoroughly enjoyed Amazon's coverage.
A lot of people have said that, Jack.
Like the you could pick if you wanted the commentary offer on. The presenters were very good.
They had the stats rolling.
I think
they had the stats rolling under the game if you wanted as well, which, you know, if you're an analytical type, is great.
No, it's great.
You know,
I mean, I paid my £7 a month for Prime, and I know that they're doing it for free. But if they up that to, I don't know, 20 quid a month, then it means you get unlimited sport.
My missus buys at least 2 things from Amazon per day, so she's got the Prime sorted. What have we watched on Prime? We've watched all of Hell's Kitchen.
Oh yes, so
yeah. So
the one that we've been slightly frustrated with is there's two series of Catfish. Do you know that?
I think I watched them all on MTV when I had actual Sky TV, but I haven't watched Catfish for years. But they're not put them on there.
No, so there's 2 series, but the most recent series you have to pay £2.49 an episode for.
An episode?
Yeah, per episode. And I'm not spending £2.49 on any episode.
Oh, when I can wait 7 years for it to be free on Netflix.
Exactly right. I think we're on to Catfish. I think we've probably exhausted our chat for this week, Ben. Any final words?
We like to come on and try and point out all the ways that we're further on, and we clearly are further on. We've had a fixture list and we've got a date for the championship. I just want to make people aware of that curtailment and that 700 million. That includes the solidarity payments all the way down the EFL. So hopefully those people who were on the narrative of, stop the Premier League for 6 months, would understand that is doomsday for the entire of all 4 divisions, really, and all that money going back. So that's what I would say. Yeah, don't take Marcus Evans' proposal too seriously if you're a Norwich fan. You've got enough areas where you can win on Twitter already. You don't need. It's like the exaggerations about Trump, isn't it? You don't need to exaggerate. Yeah. Don't make up extra stuff. There's plenty of stuff you've got on him. So
the ammunition is very much there. Well, pleasure to speak to you, mate. I hope you have a good week, and we'll catch up maybe this time next week, and hopefully we won't be far off the first fixtures. Good stuff. See you later.